Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayy and I'm here to give you real relatable content. So I took a poll on Instagram and TikTok to see what my next video was going to be on. Everybody wants to know my birth story. Buckle up because it's a long one. You guys see me looking down, it's because I'm just checking my iPad for notes. I want to make sure I can paint the picture as clear as possible for you. I was induced on March 2nd, 2021. The reason why I was induced is because it was past my due date already at this point. I was huge. I was uncomfortable. For reference, I'm 5 feet tall. My baby was taking up my whole stomach. I'll show a picture right here. You guys can see. I was uncomfortable. It was hard for me to breathe. I was ready to get that baby out. So me and my doctor had decided on me getting induced. I checked into the hospital at 8 o'clock. They put me into the birthing suite right away. It was a pretty big room that we were in. They hooked me up to everything. I had IV, they had all the monitors on my stomach, and in the IV they started Pitocin, which was gonna get my labor rolling. So everything is fine. I'm laboring fine. Every time I go to the bathroom, I'm doing lunges. My boyfriend's making fun of me the whole time. I'm just really trying to get the ball rolling and doing everything in my power to make it easier. That night we watched the book of Eli, which is kind of funny because my son's name is Elijah. My boyfriend eventually went to sleep. I was up watching Harry Potter all by myself. The nurses kept coming in. They're like, you need to get some rest, you need to get some rest. But I'm like, I'm about to have a baby. Like, I'm way too nervous to sleep. I'm uncomfortable. Hospital beds are uncomfortable in itself, but imagine being hooked up and it's like, I can't even switch sides. It was just not, I wasn't able to sleep. I did take cap naps here and there, but that's about it. The next morning, my doctor comes in and he checks me. I can't remember how dilated I was. All I remember him saying is that he was gonna try to break my water now. Tried that, it was unsuccessful. So he's like, we'll come back later and try again. I'm still doing okay with the pain. The contractions are definitely way more consistent now and they're lasting longer, but it's nothing unbearable. Like, I'm doing good. Flash forward to about like 1:30 in the afternoon. This is now March 3rd, 1:30 in the afternoon. The nurse comes in. I asked my boyfriend to help me go to the bathroom because again, I'm hooked up to all these things, so I need help getting unplugged from all the wires. And then I feel 2 pops. Like, it literally felt like a rubber band pop in my lower abs. And then I was like, okay, that was weird. So I get up and I feel like this slow leak happening. And I look to the nurse and I'm like, I think my water just broke. I wasn't really sure because I did have to pee, so I could have just peed myself as well. She checks and she's like, yeah, your water broke. And I was like, oh, okay. It wasn't this big splash like everyone describes or what you see in the movie. It literally was just like 2 pops and then a small drip. That's all I felt. Then I got up, went to the bathroom, walked around the room, did my regular lunges, got back in bed. A couple hours later, the contractions hit me hard. Not really the pain itself, like it was painful, but they were so consistent. I felt like I wasn't getting a break. I could hardly catch my breath in between. And I was like, I'm ready to get the epidural. At this point, I had been laboring the entire time with no pain medication at all. That was my goal. I wanted to go as long as possible, but now I'm to the point where I'm crying in between contractions because I'm just getting frustrated. It's just painful and I'm over it. I tell the nurse I want to get an epidural. She tells me it's going to be a little bit because they are backed up with C-sections and the anesthesiologist is busy. And I was like, okay. She gave me some IV drug to help with the pain medication. I can't remember what it was called. That helped for a little bit. It definitely did ease the pain, but it wore off really fast. So I'm sitting here, I'm crying. Jeremiah's holding my hand. He's putting pressure on my back and I'm just like, I'm ready. Like, where's the epidural? Let's get it going. This is one of the crazy parts of my story. The anesthesiologist and the nurse come in. They asked my boyfriend to leave. They explained everything to me and I was like, okay, I'm ready. They get me all set up and they're like, don't move. You have to stay really still. I'm all hunched over holding on to the nurse and I'm like, okay. So I tense up because they're like, don't move. So I'm freaking out about moving. And I'm like, I don't want to become paralyzed or something. So like, don't move, Alex. So I tense up and the nurse is like, you need to relax. So I relax. They do the epidural. It didn't really hurt. I felt a pinch, but that was about it. Everything went pretty smoothly with that part. They leave the room. My boyfriend comes back in. He's watching my contractions on the monitor. At this point, they're really consistent and they're pretty intense. Then he looks at my blood pressure and he's like, is this your blood pressure? And I was like, yeah. And then he starts moving the little blood pressure thing on my arm and he's like, that's not right. That's way too low. A second later, the nurse and the anesthesiologist run back in and I'm like, what the heck is going on? They're checking my blood pressure. At this point, I feel so sick. It's like someone needs to grab me something. I'm gonna throw up. I'm nauseous. I'm dizzy. I don't really know what's going on. They gave me some shot in my leg. I guess my blood pressure had completely bottomed out. The anesthesiologist gave me too high of a dose of the epidural for my size, which is crazy because he never once asked me my height or my weight or anything. So he had to lower the dose for that. My blood pressure started to come back up. Everything was looking good. That's what I thought. Elijah's heart rate started to rise. So that became a concern. They were monitoring that for a while and they decided that it was time to stop the Pitocin completely because it was just labor was too much for him to handle. It was being really stressful on his body. So pretty much my labor came to a halt, which is what I was afraid of with getting the epidural because you don't know how your body is going to react. You don't know how your baby's going to react to that. So that was one of the reasons why I was iffy getting it, but the pain was just too frequent for me to catch my breath. I was getting overwhelmed. I was finally able to sleep. Like I actually fell asleep and got some good rest because I wasn't feeling the contractions. I had the epidural. So there was that. Overnight, the nurses are coming in. They're slowly starting to get the Pitocin rolling again. They're keeping a good eye on Elijah's heart rate to make sure that he can handle it. And it's just slowly going. They come in every 30 minutes. I'm switching positions with the peanut to help me dilate more. That's going pretty well. That's like pretty easy. And at like 5 or 6 in the morning, they check me and I'm at 8 centimeters. And I was like, what? Yes, like we are finally getting somewhere. Like I'm finally gonna be able to push through. So I tell my boyfriend, he's asleep at this point. They wake him up. They tell him, we text my family group chat just to let them know I was at 8 centimeters and I was 80% effaced. So we were just waiting for me to continue to dilate. Elijah's heart rate was doing good at this point. Like it was no longer stressful. We were just, yeah. So I thought I was gonna be pushing soon. I was wrong.
Angie, I think your water broke. Wait, what? Your water?
Elijah had pooped inside. I guess all the stress of the labor caused him to poop inside, which, if you do not know, can be toxic and deadly. At this point, I had already come to terms that I was gonna need a C-section. I had already done a lot of research. I knew how bad it could be that he had pooped inside and I knew that they needed to get him out. So in my head, I already knew I was gonna have to have a C-section because I knew I wasn't dilated enough to be able to push. Like he needed to be out as soon as possible. So the doctor was like, yeah, it's time to get him out. We were told that Elijah might have to be in the NICU a little bit after he was born if he had ingested any of the poop. So they were gonna have to keep an eye on that. It was just a lot of stress and anxiety on me at that point because I was nervous about him being in the NICU and him pooping inside and him being under so much stress. And then I also was sad because I was like, why did my body fail me? That was like a lot that I had to come to terms with later. I had to speak to my counselor about it and everything because I was really hard on myself for not being able to have a natural birth. Like I blame myself, but I understand now it was just a whole bunch of things that happened that I had no control over. He was stressed from the epidural and he pooped. Nobody could expect that to happen. I have been in labor for 2 days at this point. Remember, I was induced on the 2nd. This is March 4th. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They come in. I signed the paperwork. They give they give Jeremiah this little like white suit that he has to wear. They get me all prepped for surgery. My anesthesiologist comes in. He is great. It's a different guy from the first guy. He's great. He explains everything to me. He ups the dose for my epidural so I can't feel anything and I'm completely numb. They roll me into the operating room and the anesthesiologist tells me what's going to be happening. They say that you're just going to feel a lot of pressure and tugging and pulling. I literally felt what was going on. I looked at my anesthesiologist and I was like, are you sure the epidural is working? Because I could feel when they were cutting me. And I felt like everything moving. And what was causing so much pressure and so much pain was the catheter. The catheter was so painful. And I know with emergency C-sections, it's way different than a planned C-section because a planned C-section is a spinal tap. But I don't know if anybody else who has had an emergency C-section felt a lot of pain. Let me know because I don't know if I'm just the only one. I have the shakes at this point. I'm starting to like freak out a little bit. But Jeremiah just looks at me and he's like, just think, your son is going to be born soon. Your son is going to be born soon. Your son is going to be born soon. So that's all I could think about. He finally comes out and he starts to cry and I'm bawling, literally bawling because it's such a relief to hear him cry because it made me think or like give me relief knowing that maybe he hadn't ingested any of the poop that was inside. They take him over to the little bed. They start working on him. Jeremiah's already over there. I look and I'm like, is he okay? Is he okay? Is he okay? And they're like, yes, we do not have to take him. He does not have anything in his lungs. He did not ingest anything. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, it was such a relief. He was finally here. He was healthy. They brought him over to me and I got to meet my baby boy for the first time. And I have tears in my eyes, like just thinking about it because it's just such a surreal moment. We went through so much my entire pregnancy, labor and delivery for him to get here. And he is finally here, happy and healthy as can be. He was born 7.5 pounds, 20 1/3 inches long on March 4th, 2021 at 1:56 p.m. Here he is now. My healthy, happy 5-month-old who is well over 20 pounds. He's probably almost 25. A little bit of my story. Please let me know your guys' birth story in my comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see more of me, my crazy family, and some mom things. Hi, Papa. Say hi, Papa. Say hi. My healthy, happy baby boy.